Welcome to another episode of Fans in Motion, the Ultimate Night Ranger podcast. And the podcast, Andrew?
Didn't know you needed.
Damn straight, homie. Joining myself, Andrew, and Brent this week is the man, the myth, the legend. Talked about in many circles throughout the Hollywood community, Mr. Bill McShane from, the company is Zealot, right?
Yeah.
Okay. And
Yep.
here's the thing is me and Andrew and Brent, we really don't know anything from Bill's background. So you out there listening, you're just joining right in with us. But the reason why we are here is Bill has some, he kind of, who the hell was messaging me? Bill has his hands in the whole Night Ranger Sister Christian world. Most of you know that the movie Air, starring Matt Damon and Ben Affleck, and who else was in that?
Jason Bateman.
And not Chris Tucker. Chris Tucker?
Yeah. Chris Tucker.
Yeah,
Viola Davis.
But anyways, a whole slew of Hollywood superstars, and I think who was your friend that was on the Fans of Motion page?
I have a friend named Ian Markley.
Ian. So
Okay.
Ian, on one of our posts there when we were talking about this Night Ranger song being on the Air soundtrack, mentioned, hey, my buddy,
I know
Bill
a guy.
McShane, Hollywood legend. I'm like, right up there. And he's like, he had something to do with some of that Night Ranger stuff on that movie. And I was like, well, hey, get me his contact information.
Yeah.
And here he is. So that's why Bill's here. The soundtrack, the trailer, the Night Ranger song. Other than that, we don't fucking know. So let's start with this. Bill, tell us like what is your job there at Zealot?
Basically, I'm a senior editor at Zealot. So what that means is I'm one of the trailer editors. So we work on lots of different stuff, lots of movies, for big studios all the way through, kind of smaller independent movies like movie studios like Neon and stuff. And so we also work with what we would call the TV streamers, which that's going to be like Netflix, Disney Plus, Amazon Prime, all of those places as well. So that's basically the deal. Yeah. And I've worked in the trailer industry for about, I think, like 18 years at this point, as an editor. And that's on Avid, which is an Avid Media Composer software, or Premiere. Now we're on Adobe Premiere, just in case that kind of gives somebody a picture of what we're talking about here. So yeah, and I've got, been in the industry for so long that I've been lucky enough to work on lots of great movies. I did the trailers for Toy Story 4, Wreck-It Ralph,
Nice.
2, Frozen 2. Those are some of the big ones. I was at a company where we did a lot of animated stuff with Disney, so that was a run of a lot of Pixar stuff. But I if anybody out there watches the show From, which is on MGM Plus streaming, that's been a popular show lately. I did the trailer for that, things like that. So it runs from horror to animation to everything in between, like Air. So
Brent loves horrors.
And who doesn't?
So let me ask you this. So how do you make the transition to that job? So what got you into the business? Was it something you seeked out? Was it accident, blind luck?
Yeah, no. So basically, and this is how I know Ian. He saw my band play, I think, in Manhattan, Kansas. So I have a band. We're still active a little bit, but not really. We're not full time anymore. But it's a band called Ultimate Fake Book, not Facebook, which is what everybody thinks it is, but it came out before that. So anyway, so everyone spell checks it to Facebook now, but that'll be the way you can remember it. Anyway, so we're called Ultimate Fake Book, and we just started we got pretty big in Kansas, and then ended up touring the country multiple times. We had a major label deal. We put out about 5 records on, you know, the major, and then also on some indie labels. So most of the people out there, like Ian, or let's say anywhere, kind of know me as that guy, the musician, songwriter type guy. But basically, you know, once the band was kind of winding down a bit, and I was kind of burnt out on touring, we were road dogs. I mean, we played everywhere. You know, you could start naming some towns or venues, and I'm pretty sure I've played there. We actually even opened up for Night Ranger in Kansas City. Yeah,
that's cool.
And it was at a place it used to be called the Hurricane, then it was called the Riot Room. I think it was still the Hurricane when we did it. If I could be wrong, might have been Riot Room. But anyway, it's, I think, maybe a 500 capacity place. And this is a type of place where our band was already headlining, but we saw that they were coming through, and we actually begged to be on the show. We were like, I want to fucking open for Night Ranger. I just want to be able to have opened up for Night Ranger. So
awesome.
So we did that way back in the day, you know. That was probably 2001, 2002, if I had to just guess.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, so I was a band guy. You know, singer, guitar player, wrote the songs. It's a 3-piece band, kind of a power trio. Not metal or anything like that, but not so, you know, still rocking, but very pop oriented. We would get thrown into maybe, let's say, emo category. We played a lot of all ages shows, but we're not fucking emo at all. Like if you're into emo, you'd be ashamed to think that we're, you know what I mean? It's like, no, we're power pop. My drummer is a huge Kiss fan, fucking huge Kiss fan. Replacements, Big Star.
Nice.
You know, I grew up like in Night Ranger, you know, Dokken, you know, guitar rock, stuff like that. And then got into, you know, alternative music, what have you, and kind of expanded my horizons, but always kind of went back to pop music at the core. So anyway, that's kind of where this kind of connection as far as with Night Ranger kind of got started. But anyway, so band guy stuff was getting over with, and I decided that I just kind of started liking cutting music videos. It started being fun. And, you know, that was around the time you'd see DVD bonus material for like the making of how are movies made and stuff. And I'd see like editors, you know, or the post-production dudes. And I'm like, I kind of feel like I fit into that category. I think I could sit on my ass for 12 hours all day focusing on making something cool.
That
you know what I mean?
Splice.
Yeah, exactly. So I started looking into it. And so I ended up, me and my wife, at that point we were just boyfriend, girlfriend, long time, moved out to LA, and I went to a trade school where I learned the software. And the idea that the trade school put out there, which fucking worked, was the main point is you're going to be sitting next to side by side with industry people who are there boning up on their skills. And so you're basically networking. And, you know, like, it's still up to you to go find a job, but this is putting you right in a place where you're going to meet people. And sure enough, I completely met people, started working on reality TV shows right away, you know. So yeah, just kind of never looked back, then got into a trailer company that I was at, you know, kind of like the one I described, Zealot, but this was a different one called Motion that I worked at for about 15 years and was having a great time doing it, and still having a great time. So that's kind of how it all started. And so for me, it's a little bit like being in a band still, because I don't have a film background, but I have hey, I want to be the DJ background. You know what I mean? Like, to me, in a way, that's what being in a band is. I never really hear people describe it that way, but that's how it was for me. Like, you're at the high school party and you're the guy in the back who's like, I'm gonna DJ this party.
Yeah.
And so after a while, you make your own band, you know, and you just start doing it yourself, because then, you know, you can control it and whatever. So that's what I like about movie trailers still, is the fact that I can hopefully be inspired enough to like put in a song into a trailer or something that really, really I feel strongly about, and can connect hopefully with the project in a cool way. And so I'm having just as much fun doing that from that angle. You don't always get to do that, you know. It's definitely, you know, it's not that easy where you can just put whatever you want in anything. all day long and never look back. But you get to a point where you can, you can inject what you love into the process.
So how does that process work? Like if I'm, let's say it's 1986 and I'm Orion Pictures, but the company that's, doing the movie, they basically contract out with you to do the trailers. Is that kind of?
Well, yeah, the marketing department of the studio will hire different companies to work on the trailer, and a lot of times multiple companies. They'll be like, hey, I want to see what you do, I want to see what you do, and I want to see what you do. And they also have their own in-house departments as well, because there's just such a need for so much marketing and in different styles of marketing that's kind of how it works. So yeah, so we're hired by the marketing department of the studio. But what's interesting is, and I never would have known this, there's so much about movie marketing and trailer making that I think would really fascinate people, is that we work a lot of times pretty closely with filmmakers, way more so than you might think, So it's not just, like it's still pretty creative.
Now, do you ever get to hang out with that dude that is the guy that's like, in a world we're
Yeah. No, totally. All the famous voiceover actors, they're legendary. They, we call it narration or voiceover. It's not used as much. It's actually making a comeback, believe it or not. It's actually kind of coming back around. But yeah, no, we don't hang out with them, but we know them, and it's all one big community of the industry, and those big famous guys, kind of like what you're talking about, some of those guys, I mean, they did quite well, let's put it that way. That's a rock star job. That is a legit rock star job.
What's nice about this? Next time I see a trailer and I'm like, oh my God, I gotta see that movie, take my wife, kids out, spend $60, look at my wife and going, God, that sucked. I can blame you for putting the trailer together, making me go to that movie. I got a face now. I got a face and a name.
That's right. Yeah, it's all me. I'm doing every single trailer. Exactly.
Now, how many times have you? You don't have to name anything. You get the product and you're like, I don't know how I'm going to make this look good.
Every single time. Every single project there's some thing about it that is tough. Like, I'll just give you an example. Okay, Air was a great movie.
Yeah.
But we couldn't use any of the basketball shots. I don't know if you guys saw the movie, but we can't use any of the footage, any of the guys running. Oh, he gets a basket. Those are that would be valuable action shots to cut to make a fun trailer, right? We had just guys in an office. You know what I mean? So that's an example. It doesn't matter what the movie is. There's always something that, for whatever reason, it's not going to work. You can't use it in the marketing material. So that's another reason why I absolutely love doing what I do, is that it's a cool challenge every single time. Like, you could have the biggest, coolest, most awesome movie ever, and still everyone is sitting there banging their heads together. How the hell are we going to get this across? Get this trailer done? Like, it's not as easy as you would think,
So they give you probably a preliminary cut of the movie?
We get multiple versions, like everything they've got. The only times that you don't get everything is like some of the really, really big directors like Christopher Nolan, or somebody that they don't they don't always want to give marketing quite everything. But yeah, we see stuff from storyboard to it being finished multiple times.
Cool.
Yeah,
that's what I mean. Like, if people saw how it was kind of done, I really do think it would blow their minds, like, legitimately.
How the sausage is made.
Couple of questions. So, first one, do you have to sign like any non-disclosure contracts with these companies, basically, where you're legally responsible for this material? And
oh yeah, big time. It's very, very high security. Very high security.
Post it to your Facebook. Well, hey, look what I'm working on.
Not at all.
And then the other question, I mean, kind of circling back to Sister Christian, and the
Yeah.
Air trailer. Do they, when they give you all this material, do they say, hey, here's some of the songs we want you to incorporate, or do they let you kind of manipulate that, or is it a combination of both?
It's a combo, and it's kind of different depending on the project. Every single project is a little bit different. Sometimes it's like a movie that there isn't a lot of music to it yet, or they don't even know what the music's going to be yet. So you're finding the tone kind of with the filmmakers. That's what I mean. That's some of the stuff that I think would surprise people, is how closely it can be married. But a movie like Air. So we got the script, and there wasn't we didn't see any frames of footage or anything yet, but we read the script, and we saw that it's set in 1984, and it would say in the script, a hit song from 1984 plays, like it wouldn't name the song, but so
Gotcha.
right away I was like, okay, 1984, and I looked at the top songs of 1984, which, by the way, somebody should go Google that, and it's just it'll blow your mind. It's mind blowing how many amazing songs came out that year.
Great.
It really
music.
is. It's insane. So, and I saw Sister Christian on that list, and I was like, because it's always, been one of my favorite songs of all time. It's one of, I personally feel very strongly that, like I wouldn't just put some, I wouldn't want to like take, like, let's say the best Beatles song ever and put it in some crappy promo, like I would not do that. It's sacred to me, right? But I saw Sister Christian on that list, and I was like, just the wheels started kind of turning. So then we saw a screening of the movie, and a lot of songs from 84 are in that movie. If anybody who's seen it can attest. Like it's almost like a mixtape of 1984 is playing in between the scenes. And yeah, exactly. There you go. Exactly. And lo and behold, Sister Christian was played, and I was like, okay. So that told me that I was like, if I was to present that, nobody would be like, what? Why would you even be thinking of that song? I mean, that's not even close, right? So I walked out of the screening, and I could just see it. I was like, bum 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 bum.
Yeah.
That build up is amazing. But I knew that I just immediately saw a vision of it being a little longer, a bigger buildup. So that's what we ended up doing. So we can go into details about how we got there. But yeah, so we get to pick, what inspires us. Sometimes the filmmakers have an idea. Sometimes the marketing might even have, hey, this has totally happened, where it's like, oh, it's part of this, and so this song's going to be in the trailer too, and but it's a big mix of everything, which is why having a completely passionate music fan being part of that process is key. And all the editors in LA, all the people that work in the trailer industry are very, very passionate and very, very huge fans of music, but in all different styles, right? So this is one of those times where, like, this is exactly what I would want to do, So
now
it was
that
great.
trailer. I'm sorry, that trailer had a remix version of that song.
All right, we're going to get to that. Hold
Yeah.
on.
Okay.
Yeah.
Andy, what was you saying?
Oh, no, I'm just saying that was a great version of the song that I'm assuming you did, and I guess Josh is leading us there.
Yeah, we're going to get to a little bit of that.
Yeah, I was going to say, I remember when it was going to debut for the Super Bowl, and I remember everybody was bitching because they didn't show the Night Ranger trailer during the Super Bowl.
Yeah. We had the official domestic trailer, and then another company had the Super Bowl trailer, and which happens. That happens all the time. But it was throwing us a little too, because they came out within like a week of each other, So I said the same thing. I was like, I bet people are going to be thinking that we're going to see that one, but then they showed a different one. But it all worked out.
So what we need you to do is we need you to get familiar with the Man in Motion record, which was a Night Ranger record that was towards the end of the classic era that didn't do as well. And we need you to push one of those songs onto a soundtrack, right?
Awesome.
And so we can start, that gets rejuvenated. Next thing you know, a song from 35 years ago becomes a #1 hit thanks to Bill McShane and Zealot. And now we're hearing Here She Comes Again live on the
Is that you guys agreed upon favorite album, or do you guys argue?
Man in Motion is a record that it was right towards the end of the 80s. It didn't sell well. The band broke up right after that. But within the hardcore fan community, it's got
beloved.
It's solid.
Yeah.
It's from beginning to end.
And there's
Okay, sweet.
there's 3 songs that a lot of people really dig. Reason to Be, Don't Start Thinking, and Halfway to the Sun. You could even throw in Restless Kind, and I know the band really likes I Did It for Love. So yeah, that's the cult fan favorite.
Josh, let me jump in for us. I just want to ask Bill a question. So I don't know if you're on the fan page, but when that trailer got released the first time, our page just blew up with everybody. Oh my God, did you see that? Did you see? I mean, everybody's searching the internet trying to find this. I don't know if you got any heads up or saw any of that reaction, but it was fun.
I just saw a little bit once Ian told me about the Facebook group, but I absolutely read all the YouTube comments that were coming through, and I mean, there's nothing better because I read them for any sort of big sort of trailer, but there's nothing better than when you read some comments and not only did they like, oh, I like that song or whatever, but they fucking got it,
Yes.
Like so many people referenced Boogie Nights, and I'm like, that's my favorite movie of all time, people. You know what I'm saying? That's what I mean when I say I wouldn't just put Sister Christian in a trailer unless I felt like really connected. There's a way that this is something kind of special, for right now. Yeah.
It was so cool.
And so many people seem to get that. Yeah.
Yeah, it worked wonderfully. I was like, God, I mean, literally, I didn't know. I never knew we'd interview, but I'm like, in my head, I'm like, someone gets that era. Like that it's perfect. And then we'll get to the remix. The way you remixed it, I was like, I love this. I want to hear this version of the song now.
Yeah. No, that's awesome. That's
now,
great.
I love doing. I'm sorry, we're going to talk over each other.
What about what you need to do is, so you know how like people are buying publishing?
Hang on 1 second, guys. Sorry. I gotta tell this phone call to stop.
This will be Josh. You get to watch back Josh's editing skills.
Okay.
Yeah, unlike you, where you like to edit, I do not. This will stay in.
And you're not using Avid.
No, I'm not. I'm using my mother-in-law's computer. So niece is calling.
Just bring her on.
Sorry about that.
So you know how there's different corporations and stuff buying musicians, publishing and stuff. What you need to do is start buying some of this publishing, like just like a song here and a song there, and then pushing it in all your trailers, right?
I think you just gave me an idea for the next phase, the next how I'll round out my days of a working man.
Some obscure 80s like Chilliwack or something. Just push the crap out of this one song. It's in every trailer.
Like listen, listen, everybody loves this obscure Kajagoogoo song. Trust me. So do you ever make do you ever do a trailer and get it, and for some reason they say, hey, we can't use this song, or like licensing and anything else? Is that something you check out at the very beginning, like, hey, I want to use there's this band called Touch of Madness and
Hell yeah.
And I want to use this song. Is it something we can do? Do you do that before you put all the work into it, or?
Yes, yeah, absolutely. We have a music supervisor whose their whole job is to know the ins and outs of all of that. So they pitch music to the editors sometimes, and the editor might throw out songs, and like it used to be, like, just to give an example, like an editor would be like, oh, it'd be amazing if we used Kashmir by Led Zeppelin, and everybody's like, oh yeah, there's no fucking way. Like that's like that was, I don't know, maybe 15 years ago, that was the landscape where there was a line that you couldn't go past. Well, now I think basically there's no lines. There's a couple of artists who wouldn't, you know, sell their music to be put into trailers and marketing, but for the vast majority, they are willing to, you know,
Sure.
to talk. So yeah, so
Yeah.
it depends. Then it just depends on what's the budget. You know, like a small program or a small movie isn't going to be able to get Led Zeppelin, but if you're working on a big studio movie, you know, that they think that this is a great idea, then then basically they're willing to go through the process that could maybe make it happen. And that's exciting as hell. I mean, Toy Story 4, we had Brian Wilson, we had the Beach Boys, God Only Knows, you know. And so that was a huge thrill of mine. So, and for anybody out there who's a Paul Thomas Anderson fan, then you've noticed that's the second time that I've put a Boogie Nights song in a movie trailer. But again, I wouldn't do that, you know, unless I felt a reason, you know, and I felt a very strong reason with God Only Knows and Toy Story 4. So
I'd say too, I mean, you have you know, where you're talking like 15 years ago. Well, I think some are, you know, with the decline of physical media being sold, it's like, okay, we probably got to go this route. And then 15 years ago, the artists, majority of them still owned all their, you know, music publishing, to where now I would assume it's probably harder to name the artists that still own it and not whatever corporation is buying. You know, there's a couple out there buying all these music catalogs, and they're not buying it to not put it, you know, into something to market. Now,
absolutely,
in your industry, is it a little bit like politics, where you have like lobbyists, like where you have, I mean, I know it's not really, don't have really a lot of different, you know, music companies like there used to be, but like you have like someone from Universal showing up and, you know, bringing donuts and saying, hey man, here's a list of songs, you know, we'd really.
A little bit like that, you know. I mean, it's you know, because it's a business, you know, music publishing and licensing deals and all that stuff for sure. So, but the great thing is, you know, honestly, at the end of the day, if the editor and the producer aren't digging it, you know, it's not going to happen, you know. So that things get pitched to us all the time, but you know, nobody is stepping in and saying, hey, I know you hate this Boys to Men song, but we really got to use it, you know, or whatever. No offense to Boys to Men, but yeah, just, you know, so yeah.
Yeah, Josh, you have a CD from Night Ranger that they pitched to Hollywood. Is that the wrong way of saying it?
I don't know what there's a Night Ranger CD. I don't think it was re-records. I think it was, actually, if I remember correctly, maybe it was that Acoustic Rarities album. I can't remember, but on the CD, there's no booklet or anything, but it was like music to be, you know, for consideration for, you know, motion pictures or something like that. I'd say probably 15 years old or so, but yeah, I forgot all about that. God knows where that's at. So,
unreleased stuff.
It wasn't unreleased. It was like the hits.
Okay.
But it, you know, the CD was labeled Night Ranger songs to be considered for motion picture and television or something like that.
Right. Well, you know, the other song, you know, be on the lookout for that I'm a huge fan of is When You Close Your Eyes, which you've got behind you there.
Yes.
And that's another one that I wouldn't just put that in just anything. I mean, that's sacred to me, you know.
And it would be refreshing. It would be very refreshing to hear that, you know.
Just a great fucking song. So yeah, no, I think that their sound, you know, is, well, okay, let's put it this way. You know, you got Air, and you know, people hear, oh, it's from the 80s, and they start, you know, thinking of what songs and whatever. But it's like, it's some 80s songs. I mean, I love the 80s music. There's still so much great stuff, but some of it just sounds like, oh, that sounds like the 80s. You know, Night Ranger to me, and especially Sister Christian and like When You Close Your Eyes, those have a classic sound, you know, that I don't hear like an era per se, you know. I just hear a great heartfelt song,
Mm.
So that's why I think this, it's like, yeah, there's not a lot of special effects in the Air movie or Air trailer, but there's fucking Night Ranger.
Exactly.
Yeah. That's like when you hear something off Loverboy, Get Lucky. It's
Mhm.
very classic.
Mm-hmm.
It sounds like it came from any time, but then you move to the next 3 albums. Oh, that sounds
Right.
like 1985. That sounds like 1987,
Right.
Still good stuff,
yeah,
but
yeah,
it's
yeah.
just not as timeless sounding.
Right. Yeah.
So you get, the script and the storyboards and all that for, let's say Air, and you're putting something together, you decide you want to do Sister Christian.
Mhm.
And as Andy and Brent were both saying earlier, during that trailer, it's a version. I won't say it's a version. It's a mix that
Mhm.
you haven't heard before. It's because a version I would say you think it's re-recorded or something. It's a different mix where Kelly's vocals are up really high and there's some echo and stuff like that on the vocals, which obviously isn't on the studio version. So how, I mean, describe the process of like what you hear, because obviously you have something in your head that's different than what everybody has heard for the last 40 years, and
Right.
how you go about manipulating that. And can you send me a copy?
That yeah, I think that could start happening actually, like trailerized versions of songs getting released, in the future. We'll see. But yeah, no, so basically this is how I approach all of that. I don't really enjoy major remixes or major rethinkings of a song or a track. It's done a lot in trailers, but it's not my personal favorite way to go about it. So I like to keep it as basic and to the song as possible. That being said, there's a couple of just quick quick things right away that just to kind of take it into a trailer and take it into a little more modern sound. Anything that's recorded, decades ago doesn't have the same the same sound quality that we hear in modern stuff. The equalization isn't quite the same, not as much low end, and it's not as loud and things like that. So you don't want to throw something in there that sounds weak up against modern sound effects. Trailers always have big sound effects and things like that. So what started happening throughout the last 10 years is various degrees of augmenting the song, and we've called it different things. That used to be called an overlay. We do an overlay to the song, which would maybe just mean like louder drums and a little bit more bass end, on just the regular song. Nobody's changed anything, just added to it. Or an augmenting, same thing. They just called it something different. And now they're calling it, trailerizing. And it's kind of just a remix, to be quite honest. So what's happening is a composer can get the main track of the song, and depending on what's available, like from so long ago, they can get from the studio or whoever owns the publishing and the rights to it now. They can get the isolated vocals, and they can get hopefully an instrumental track, which is just a song with no vocals.
Right.
Or in the best possible scenario, you would get actual stems, is what they're called, which is just what all that means is the whole song. Like, let's say it's a line, it's a file, but it's just the bass, or it's just the tambourine, just the keyboards. It's just all the tracks that in the studio is what they're mixing. Like, we're not, cutting the tracks. It's a matter of mixing. And so you can mix it to taste. Say you get to a certain point, you want it to just be only vocals, or you want it to be only drums, or you want to, just manipulate it. That's basically what people do when they're remixing things. So these composers for trailer houses are remixing old songs. And so they'll add new sounds that are in the same key, but just enhance it a little bit. And so that's what they do. And sometimes you just say, hey, will you trailerize this song? And they just go nuts. And it's like, it literally sounds like it's stopping down. It's doing this. What? It's repeating. It's like crazy. And then other times it's how we gave them we sort of direct them a little bit. And so this one I directed them, I was just like, the song's great, I don't want to change anything, but I do want to isolate the vocals, and I want to have that big build up part be like, let's say 8 times as long, so that we can be building up throughout the trailer till it finally gets to the chorus.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because, I tried it a couple times, the trailer, with like the piano at the beginning and keeping it in that piano ballad vibe the whole way through. But it really was about the dun, dun, it just sounds like a stadium to me. It just sounds like we're in the basketball arena and something's coming. And I'm not even a basketball fan, but that just sounds like something's coming. Something's coming. But I wanted it to be longer, because I knew that we needed to sustain that feeling a little longer. And I knew that it wouldn't overstay its welcome. I knew that buildup is, as a musician myself, I knew that, no, you can do this, and it's going to actually be really great by the time it finally gets to the end.
Oh yeah.
Because everybody knows that drum part and that 10, 10, 10, 10, 10,
It's a perfect transition into a power ballad,
Yeah. And it's a strange choice to use a power ballad for a movie trailer, but not if it's Sister Christian. You know what I mean? Like, it just makes you happy, and the proof is in all the comments, in YouTube. And what I love is that it's like, I think as a kid, I probably didn't even know what the song was really about. I mean, I'm just following the emotion of the song. And I saw the video as a kid, and I kind of had that imagery in my head, but I never knew what motorin meant. I mean, what does motorin mean? You know what I'm getting at? It's just kind of a feeling. And so then I'm looking at the lyrics and I'm like, where are you going? What you looking for? And the main character of this movie is looking for somebody, those boys don't want to play with you anymore. He's can't find anybody. I was just starting to notice little things, and it was like, mama's worrying that, you won't last to say, okay, the mama is in the mix and worried about things. And I was just like, they're trying to find Mr. Right. I was like, it's not probably anything at all about what the song was about, but it felt right. Yeah. And to me, that's what I mean by the sacred connection. It's not always an obvious thing. It's a in your bones kind of thing. Same reason why I think it works so great in Boogie Nights in that scene. It's not a you wouldn't think it'd be the perfect song to play in the middle of a drug deal that goes wrong. So anyway, so all those ideas were out there and so it was a matter of telling a composer. And so they can make some drum sounds that kind of go with theirs, and they kept a build-up going a little longer. The guy's playing a guitar that mixes with their guitar. It's basically stuff like that. But that's just, for me, just the extension aspect. Once the song gets going, then I don't really want it to be too messed with personally. But there are added,
sure,
things like that. And at one point, like when we were in the mix, the guy, because then we go to a big mixing studio and they mix the trailer. If it's going to be a big trailer, that's how you do it. And he had my drum sounds or my hits kind of up on the chorus where it's showing the people's names. We call that the cast run. And it was like, and it just kind of, I was like, can you lower that? Because it's kind of losing the sort of loosey-goosey amazingness of a band that is obviously not playing to a click track, or at least I don't think they probably were. You know what I mean? And it's very analog. I want to still retain the flavor that made the song so great in the first place. I don't personally like augmenting and trailerizing something and it's like the new 2023 remix. I'm not really quite interested in that. I guess this is kind of, and I see that, but I'm just trying to show you where I was trying to keep it, in its spirit, basically.
Well, I think too, it's not, with what we heard on that trailer, it's just cool to hear a little bit different version of Sister Christian, and especially, it's good too. If it was whatever you did, if it was garbage, then I'm like,
Right.
But
it's a fine line, and that what
Yeah.
you're getting at is that sacred feeling.
Yeah.
What you're getting, I don't want to fuck with something that is already beautiful,
But to me, like
Yeah.
it's different, and then what was different about it was good, and so it's like, all right, that's kind of sounds, interesting, and I want to, you were talking how you get the tracks and how they're broken down, by instrument and stuff like that. The Universal Fire in 2008.
Right. I remember
So
hearing about
where
that.
all those masters, from all these artists throughout the decades, the masters were destroyed in this big Universal Fire. Night Rangers masters were destroyed in that.
Wow.
So I guess my question is, so like some artists like Bryan Adams actually had copies of his masters in his vault, so he was kind of protected, and some stuff had been remastered. Some artists had stuff remastered, so there were other digital copies or copies out there, where Night Ranger really doesn't have a lot of remasters, maybe some stuff that was done for Japan. Does that ever come up? I mean, one, and I guess the other question would be if what masters are out there for Night Ranger, or
Yeah, no, I don't know anything about it. I know that anything past a certain date it's going to be very hard to track down masters or digitized analog masters for that reason. I think it, and it's funny, I'm in a crappy band that has a couple of thousand whatever followers, or I'm trying to, no disrespect to any of our followers, but my point being, we're not big at all. And even I've learned that even the types of problems we have, basically every band has. Every band has trouble with their master tapes, their whatever. I don't have the license. You know what I'm getting at? It's kind of I'm shocked that when I heard the Rolling Stones had like all their taxes were done wrong or something, I was like, yeah, that rings a bell. Good God, I think it's like everybody. Yeah. So yeah, I don't know. I think it's tough for any band that has older shit. It's tough. The good thing is, and this sounds freaky, but it's not really as freaky as it sounds. But the good thing is, now we at least have software, or at least our music supervisors type people have software that can separate the vocals pretty well from stuff. I mean, it's not as good as like for Night Range, for this song, that was like legit separated vocals, like the type where you're not hearing any bleeding through the mics,
sure.
or the headphones, or it's not done by software. It was like legitimate isolated vocals. So that was a godsend, obviously. I wouldn't want to do it completely without. So yeah. So I don't really know too much about that, other than it's hard.
So let me. I want to stick on that just a little bit more.
Yeah.
So how do they? Because you're talking about how great Night Rangers is it was broken up very professionally, or I won't say professionally, but it was where there's no bleeding, no bleeding or whatsoever. What's the process? Who does that? What's that process? And why is that track from Night Ranger separated so great compared to some songs you get where you have that bleeding and stuff like that?
I think it's just a matter.
Yeah.
Give Josh a good edit point.
There we go.
There you go.
There we go.
You said, I think it's just a matter, and then you froze.
Yeah, I think it's just a matter of that they had that isolated vocal stem available, the label did already. And I might not be 100% correct. For all I know, this was a software stripped out vocal, but it doesn't sound like it to me. It sounded clean as a baby's butt. So but yeah, But the only other time one time I saw the stems from an old 80s song was like a Duran Duran, Hungry Like the Wolf. And it was amazing to hear the isolated bass line, isolated,
Oh yeah.
keyboards. It was fantastic. But that's the thing. Unfortunately, it's hard to come by for older stuff. So
And Sister Christian's been used on so many soundtracks. I mean, that's probably a reason why it's so
yeah,
readily available. I know what's the Balls of Fury it was on, and Friday the 13th, part 81 or something like that. It was on that soundtrack, and I'm sure I'm missing a slew of others. So that's probably, one reason why it's,
right.
already been broken up, because it's been used in other films. So yeah, uh, so you put that together. You you said that there's different companies out there, kind of all working on different trailers and stuff. So what was the feedback? Obviously, I mean, they used it, so they liked it, but
Yeah,
what was that process like? And the validation of, oh yeah, we
yeah.
see your vision. Yeah.
Yeah, no, it was great. I mean, I had that in my version 1, as we like to say. That's, you start with version 1, and I think our trailer finished on version 23 or something. And so yeah, it's like first I have to make my producers happy, and so I have to convince them that this is a cool idea, and so my producer loved it. And then you send it to the client, and she loved it. She thought it was great. But they also know that, well, hey, let's they test trailers. They like, let's put it out there and see what people think of these different ones, different ones with different songs in it. We tried different songs. I tried changing, what if it starts with this song then goes to that song, and we just kind of kept coming back to at a certain point, once the trailer, that song kicked in through the end, was just felt great, and so we kept it, and it won the day. So you never fully know, but I had a strong feeling, from day one, even from just walking out of the movie theater, and I'm just like, I can see the trailer right now in my head. So, and that doesn't always happen. It's you cut a lot of stuff, you work on a lot of stuff. It's hard to be really inspired, like always, like you're doing so much things creatively. So, but this was one of those ones I felt really strongly about. So I didn't, you never know what's going to happen, but at the same time, like I said, I knew it was a special cut,
I can see that there's an opening for some payola, like back in the 70s, where you'd have people from the the labels going to the radio stations, and either some cash or some snow, and to get songs played. See, that's what I'm going to do, is I'm going to be showing up at all these trailer places like, hey man, you don't want Sister Christian, you want
Something off Mojo.
you want you want the Hooters, you know what I
Oh
mean?
yeah.
I guess that's too legit, but
well, it's just mind-boggling how much, especially to me as a well, I always want to say former musician, but I mean, I'm still a musician, and it's my first love. I can't believe, how much music is out there, and not only like just the recorded history of music, but library music. It's mind-boggling. So I will just say good luck to you, sir, in your pursuit.
or you could be like, so listen, I got Sister Christian version for air, and then I got the ultimate fake book version for air. I
Right.
think we should use them both.
See, that's what I'm waiting for, is somebody to just discover an ultimate fake book song, not having someone who doesn't know me or whatever. Oh, this is the perfect song for a fucking trailer, like
that person
like
could
like
be
like
you.
like just the back, I guess the other side of the coin, right? Like, let's say I am a Night Ranger and I wrote these amazing songs. That would be my dream, is that it makes it into the world. But they've had hits, so they kind of know that feeling. So we'll have to interview them and ask them
Well,
about that side of the
I
coin.
know,
But
I know, within the, Night Ranger um team,
Yeah. Yeah.
everybody was excited. Information being passed back and forth, and hey, we got this this trailer's being released, and I know Brad connected with you on LinkedIn.
yeah,
Uh,
it's amazing.
you
Amazing.
know, we talked about that a little bit, and yeah, they were all, I know Jack had talked about it, and Kelly, he's just, we've talked about Sister Christian before, just how that song's just taken on a life of its own, and kind of, just it's bigger than the band. You can say Motorin, and you don't have to know Night Ranger or anything about him. You just know that song, and
hmm
as much as us hardcore fans, maybe, just as with most bands, their biggest hit is probably like your least favorite song because you've heard it so many times.
Sure.
100 years from now, no one's going to know You Can Still Rock in America, Don't Tell Me You Love Me. All those songs will be gone. But the one that will stand in that whole history that someone can dig into, will be Sister Christian. That will be the song that, will be the lasting song for.
Well, and absolutely. And it just blows my mind to think back to myself, in fourth grade, 1984, listening to the jukebox at Pizza Hut and putting in that song, seeing the video, loving the song, loving Nike and Michael Jordan, or Air Jordans, not basketball, just Nike and Air Jordans, right? And MTV. And I never would have thought that someday there'd be a way to do that. But I just believe that that's the reason why, you gotta use true inspiration and not waste it, not I wouldn't this, you got to pull the trigger when it's right to put it in there. So I hope that that would be my hope, I guess, is that they weren't like, no, it's for the Michael Jordan thing. Okay, cool. But like I said, I am also a huge Boogie Nights fan. So I was really, really happy that some people kind of got a little bit more to it being in there than just, it came out in 84. There's something about, I don't know, seeing those guys in the outfits and the guys, and so anyway, so I hope that they could feel that. That would be amazing.
So is it safe to say that you're the reason why Mr. Christian is on this soundtrack?
Absolutely safe to say that. No, not in any way, shape, or form.
Well, hey, listen, if it's your song that you picked for your trailer and became the lead trailer, and probably next to the Dire Straits one. I think I still see the Sister Christian one more than the Dire Straits one. Now, the Dire Straits one was the one that was used during the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
But I just saw maybe a month ago a different trailer. I think maybe it was for behind the scenes, something they were doing. But again, there was Sister Christian. And
yeah, no, I had nothing to do with it being on the soundtrack. It was Ben Affleck picked the songs that are in the movie,
Yeah,
so
I read that was his playlist, basically.
Yeah. And it was in the movie. All I did was when I saw the first cut, I was like, okay, he had that on his playlist, so I don't think anybody's gonna freak out if I present it.
I need to get with Ben Affleck and say, listen, man, emotion. Take a listen to this record. The only song that really stuck out, when I saw the movie, and I was kind of like, that's cool that they got that, but I think that song might be more well known now than when it was released, was Blister in the Sun by Violent Femmes.
Exactly the one I was gonna say.
I agree. I knew it back in the day because Andy's band used to play that song.
Yeah.
And we used to say, what the fuck is that?
I just remember
a bad version of that song.
Violent Femmes, just even, in the 90s, to me, they kind of became more popular when grunge hit and people rediscovered it, and
oh, it was in commercials and everything.
Yeah.
What's the one song, I Hope You Get Fat? I don't know if you guys know that one by Violent Femmes. And what's the other one? Something about drive your car, or
I know that Blister in the Sun is all I know, and because I had to
Yeah.
learn it for the band I was playing in.
you know that they were discovered, I think, by Chrissy Hynde, by
Oh,
from
wow.
Pretenders,
That sounds about right.
outside one of her shows, maybe. Um, yeah, something like that. I can't remember, but some unique story there. If you're out there, go Google it. So yeah, so where can we find the 8-track of Bill McShane's movie trailer remixes? Because there's a lot of people out
I
there that liked what they heard.
well, I like I said, I have actually heard of an instance of a quote unquote trailerized remix of a song that was in a trailer, making it onto a soundtrack. So I think the worlds are starting to mix a little bit, but that as far as that's kind of going, I've even heard of some artists are already, they're making their songs sound like a trailer, like with because at the end of the day what we're talking about is sound effects, rises, they're adding that kind of stuff to their songs. Those are new songs, not older ones, but anyway, so the things are kind of mixing a little bit. So it's pretty cool. It's like it used, like I said, it used to be not, there was like you couldn't touch the classics, but now you can. And I just, hopefully, like I said, I just want to help be part of trailers that don't desecrate what was already amazing. Because I do kind of feel personally like some of them, I won't name names, but the like horror movies with the somber vocals, and you're like, that's a happy song, but it's just
you're making it weird.
Yeah, I'm a little more of a purist, when it comes to that.
What exists of that remixed Sister Christian? Is it, do you like when you go to your computer and hit play, is it a full song that you've met, or is it just like a 90-second block of music that you've manipulated? How much?
That's a good question. Yeah, the composer, I told him the lyrics that I was interested in, and the chorus, and the big buildup. Those are the three things. So what they came back with and sort of remixed and augmented and all that kind of stuff was probably a 90-second. Like we didn't have the guitar solo. By the way, just want to say that guitar solo is my favorite guitar solo of all time, hands down. It's absolutely amazing. I could do a 2-hour podcast about that guitar solo.
Don't.
But
what are you doing next week?
Well, here is, I asked Brad once, so
amazing.
It was off the record. We were, I think, on the phone and messing with his social, so there was a little bit of downtime, and I asked him, who decides to do that solo? All right, because you had Jeff and you had him. How does that decision, how do you get that right? Now, since it's off the record, I can't tell you guys the answer, but it's not that crazy. But
well, sometimes it's just who plays it better.
Well,
who has a better feel.
I can tell. I can tell some. They basically trade. Hey, you can do that song, and I won't tell you the song. That's where I'll have to stop. But that song, you do that song, and I'll do this song, and that's how he got Sister Christian. But I agree with you. I know, Brad said something about there was some contest or something. I think he probably meant back then. I don't know now, but where it was the most like memorable guitar solo of the year.
Wow.
I've always said that's one thing about Night Ranger, the allure is, it's almost like you have 5 singers, because you had Mac singing, you got Kelly singing, and you got Brad and Jeff. They basically, they're playing is so melodic. I mean, think about how many of those solos from Night Ranger you just remember, and they're almost like you'll go to the solo or their lick before you would go to like a verse or a chorus in your head. And then even Fitz, I mean, his playing and a lot of these songs, are really, have big parts. And why I was asking you is like, how much of the song has been, remixed or whatever. I need you guys to take the Night Ranger song "At Night She Sleeps," and there's this keyboard effect they got. I need that wiped out, okay, of the whole song.
Yeah.
If you guys can do that for me, there is a
Well, I mean, that'd be
Emotion
cool.
shirt with your name on it.
I know that some bands have done that. They put out the stems, of a new track, and so that their fans will remix it and do things, and that's fun. That's cool. It's interactive for sure. But we're talking about classics here, though. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying?
Catch that.
Yeah.
That is kind of a cool little.
Yeah, it's
like
fun.
the
It's a fun
where they
idea.
would release like the different stems, and
Yeah,
it's kind of a neat
the
little.
exact same thing. So
promotional-
you could do it without drums. You change it how you like.
Yeah.
It's fun because that's what people are basically doing on their own anyway,
Right.
And yeah, I do like the idea. Even let's say with the classics, it's I'm sure a lot of great shit would happen, as long as it's not lame, like you said earlier.
I mean, I have an app on my phone that actually pulls tracks out because I'm a drummer.
Moises.
Yeah, there you go.
So I can pull the drums out of Tom Sawyer and then
and
completely
it
screw
sounds
it up.
good.
It's not bad.
Sounds great.
There's some bleed in it, but you can
Yeah,
if you're trying to play along to it through your headphones, it's like so now the drums are out of it. It's fun.
Yeah.
Not as good as what you have available to you, but there's even, like I said, on your phone, there's an app that does similar.
Right.
So,
yeah.
Hey, Bill, why I got you.
Yeah.
My question to you regarding Night Ranger is how involved are they ahead of time? Like, were you mixing the song or playing with it, or did they know about it from day one? Like when the movie was being filmed, they're like, "Yeah, we know this will be part of the movie."
Yeah.
Because
that's a good question.
We didn't hear anything about it until it was released. I didn't know anything about it.
Right. I know. Okay. I'm sure they are contacted that it's going to be part of the movie itself, right? Like on the soundtrack, and then even that, like you held up the cassette. I don't even know how many movies even release their soundtracks anymore. I mean, I grew up on that kind of shit. You know what I mean? And all my first records were soundtracks. But anymore, so they were probably very aware that they're in the movie, but I was just like you guys where I'm, let's see the comments on YouTube, like I had no idea what anybody would think. Like in a way, I'm glad I'm not part of any of that process. I can just be almost like a fan and the creative side, and then the business side hopefully works it out. But yeah, so I have no idea whether they knew at what point they knew it was going to be in a trailer or not, or if they have to sign off on everything. I know every artist is probably different. The bigger you are, the more you get into the weeds about all that stuff. But to give you an example, kind of what we're talking about, when the Toy Story 4 trailer came out that I talked about, Brian Wilson actually tweeted that, and I actually framed the tweet and I have it up in my office. He said the God Only Knows is used to beautiful effect in the new Toy Story 4 trailer. Go check it out. And I say to people, I'm like, that's like my college diploma. Like
you've arrived.
I have made it if I used his song in a movie trailer in a way that he approves, then we're good. So yeah, but it's the same type of thing where I'm like, I have no idea what the actual artist, thinks. And so that's why it's always so fun. That's 100% why this was so intriguing and fun for me to do, is to just totally talk about this. Because as a band guy, as a musician myself, it's huge to me, this kind of shit.
The follow up you talked about earlier, and you were telling your story about the caption. I don't know how you put it, but when I was watching the trailer and you have that just super long build, it left me hanging. I was like, oh, it's building to something so fantastic. And for me, it totally did what I think you were trying to accomplish. The longer build, because we see Night Ranger all the time in concert, and you can feel it in the arena.
Yes.
When Kelly starts that build, the audience, the floor is moving, and you can feel the energy. And I'm watching your trailer. I'm like, oh God, this is gonna be so great. And I couldn't wait to watch the movie. And the movie, it delivered. It was a great film.
No, that's awesome. That's really great to hear you say that. It's like, I think also, I have a piano at my house, and I started, trying to teach myself piano. And of course I'm like, oh, I only got to figure out Sister Christian. And once I figured out that it's like dun 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 dun
Yeah.
dun 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 dun, like that, doing that is magic.
Yeah.
It is magic. It works in the room in an acoustic, just a piano by yourself. It works in the room, like you said, with thousands of people it works everywhere. And so that's my job, I feel, is to like be connected to music in a way that I can like, okay, I can see this being really great, you know?
Yeah, it
So
totally
that's
delivered.
awesome.
Totally
That's awesome.
delivered. And I ran the show. My wife's like, "You gotta watch this." She has no
that's
desire
awesome.
to watch the movie, but she's happy that Night Ranger was in the trailer for me.
Well, that's awesome. And that's what I mean when I say it's a sacred thing, because it's like that could suck. What if it just kept going? And if it's like, nah, that's way too long. It's like, you know, I'm very aware of, it's like, it still has to sound like the song, you know, like we don't want it to sound wrong, you know, or that throws you, you know, I don't know. There's it's created well. And so let's keep that, basically.
Yeah.
You know, I don't know how well the movie did overseas, but we have some Japanese fans on the page.
Oh, awesome.
And one guy posted his ticket the day he bought it to go to the theater, where his seat was. And then I think after he walked out of the movie, I think he said, Night Ranger's like 35 point whatever in the movie, you know?
Yeah. The way the music is in the movie, it's, you know, you're not seeing montages. It's not like a Rocky montage, you know, to some song.
One
They're
big music video.
No, it's just sort of in there, right? But so yeah, I can see what he means by that. But then again, that's why I wanted to showcase it.
You know what? The trailer's more important than the movie. The trailer you're going to see out there 100 times more. I mean, how many times do you watch a movie over? You might watch a movie, and then if you really fucking like it, you may watch it again in a month or two. But
right,
you know, it's the trailer placement is more important than where the
that's why I take it so seriously, because I just, you know, there's a lot of trailers these days, right? So this may be a diminishing thing, but it's like, yeah, I remember when a trailer was iconic, you know. That's what if I heard about, you know, National Lampoon's European Vacation or whatever, I saw the trailer and I'm like, okay, you know, like I'm still remember it or whatever. Like it's an iconic piece in and of itself. And so I'm always going for something like that, you know. That's what I'm thinking of, is that this is an iconic thing. Take it good or bad, but it should be iconic, you know, like it should be, because it's the, you know, it's the first thing you see of it.
You're selling the movie ahead of time.
It's sort of it's starting what your brain is going to think of, you know, of the piece.
And you're in a good field where I think of it. I mean, obviously, I've been thinking of ways where we can, you know, manipulate it illegally. But but I mean, you think about, like, you know, music. There's not a lot of money there, just physical media and all that. You know, books are kind of, you know, I mean, anything print is kind of in the doldrums. But, you know, film, you know, I mean, think about how much, I mean, movies are making more than they ever have. They are advertising on every platform, TV, you know, all the socials. You go see, you know, if I go see a movie, like, okay, I want to go see this movie, it starts at 10:25. I know I don't have to get there till probably fucking 11 o'clock because they show 15 trailers. So it's like, I think you're in the right business.
There's definitely a lot of work to be had and be done. Yeah, for sure. But, you know, but it's like, I, you know, still want it to be, like you said, like we were saying, like an iconic piece if possible. That's always my goal. It's really hard, you know. It's not like you can just, you know, you don't get to do that with, like, for every movie, you know, like not every thing is gonna sort of allow for that to happen. But it's cool that it's a lot of very passionate people in the industry, that it's not like a bunch of people that are only looking at, you know, what sells and what it literally is, you know, fans, and it's literally fans of art and fans of movies, you know.
Now, are you able to give us a preview? In other words, are you working on something that you can't talk about, but you can say, "You guys need to see this movie."
No, I can't talk
Nothing
about
like that?
any of it.
You got
Yeah, I
anything
can't
you
talk about any
can't talk
movies.
about, but you can talk
No,
about?
no, but like say,
Yeah.
we all know like movies are in the works. You can look at IMDb and see what's being made.
Yeah.
That's funny.
That's why I
No,
said, is there
can't.
anything that you're seeing? To go, okay, in August you've got to go see this movie, or
Yeah. No, I wish I could, but no, I can't. I can't go there, unfortunately.
I'll tell
But
you,
I,
Play, the
but I could just
story of
totally,
Night Ranger.
yeah, exactly. I could just be silly and be like, get ready, Night Ranger fans, because you're gonna no be able to turn your computer on without seeing a fucking Night Ranger song. Yeah, no, I
you
can't.
should have did that anyway.
Yeah, no, totally.
I just went and saw the Indiana Jones movie at the theater, and
So did I.
I enjoy the trailers. At my cinema, Oppenheimer was a trailer,
Yeah.
and I didn't have any desire to see the movie. I do now. The trailer was just like, I'm like, I mean, I think my mouth was open. I was like, what the hell?
Yeah,
So
Yeah,
well
no,
done.
I'm really excited for that one. I'm
Yeah, it looks
excited for
really
that.
good.
Yeah.
You
but
should
I
see
enjoy
some-
the trailers.
You should see some of the promotions. I think they're going to have to theater like for that, where they're actually going to like have like
Bombs.
radioactive material in
Get
there.
some
and,
waste.
what's that movie with John Goodman where they got the theater that things
Matinee.
change?
I
Yeah.
think it's
Yeah.
called Matinee.
So yeah, it's going to
People
be
are
that.
walking-
You're going to
People
leave
are walking
with
out of the theater with no hair.
the third
They're like
nostril.
they're like radioactive.
I felt like I was a
Work.
part of it.
You could put radioactive in that movie if you do the trailer for Oppenheimer.
There we go.
You know.
There we go.
I
There we
love
go.
the song "Going Blind" on that
Oh
record.
yeah.
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 Have you ever heard the Melvins version?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Brent's heard
Love it.
everything.
Yeah.
King Buzzo, man, that guy rules.
totally. Yeah, I think that probably was the first time I heard it, but like I said, my drummer, he's the mega Kiss fan, and so he knows everything about all those solo records.
Who was
Yeah,
it?
the
Who was it
Melvins
that-
even did their own solo albums, Andy.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
In the same vein.
Who did Black Diamond? Was that Red Cross?
That
Oh,
might
I don't know. Somebody did.
Anyways,
Yeah.
Andy, you got any questions for Bill while we wrap this up?
No, I got to chime in with what I was on my mind, and just wanted to make sure I told him how much I appreciated the build and the anticipation, and the movie was really good. I truly enjoyed the movie. I mean,
Yeah.
I was impressed how they never show Jordan in the movie physically, and they made a movie about signing a guy exciting. Like, how do you do
Yes.
that?
It's literally a movie about some guys that had to work over the weekend.
That's it.
Legit.
Mhm.
Because that's
It-
basically my job, is to be that hardcore and like, how do we make this? It's like, okay, so they just had to work over the weekend.
I do that
they
every
didn't-
weekend.
Right.
Like-
They didn't
like-
really do anything other than their jobs, but it was still exciting and it was cool. Yeah.
Yeah,
But-
it was.
But Ben Affleck knows what he's doing, man.
Yeah.
I'm waiting for the
He knows what he's
Jordan, the Jordan movie where it's about his story with golf hustlers.
yeah,
But
Air 2,
I'm sure.
Air
I'm
Disaster.
sure there's.
Oh,
A
I thought
lot-
you were going to talk about the
lot of
one where
stories.
his son's dating Scottie Pippen's ex-wife. You know about that, don't you?
Is it ex-wife or Scottie Pippen's daughter?
I thought it was his ex-wife. I heard it was his ex-wife. That's what I read the other day.
Um,
That's a
He
different-
doesn't condone it.
It's a different podcast.
I saw I saw when Michael
The
Jordan.
sequel is
was
going to be great.
Yeah.
Yeah. I saw a clip where Michael Jordan was watching the trailer for Air.
Oh,
on the
no way.
laptop. He was watching it on the laptop, and he's like, they used Night Ranger when I told him not to, and I took that. personally.
You had me going there for a minute. I was like, I gotta find this.
So,
Well, that's why
we-
the Run DMC part's in there.
Brent,
The Adidas.
Brent, you got any
Yeah.
questions for Bill before we?
No, but Bill, you opened up all of our eyes and ears, so to speak, to something we knew very little about.
Well,
And
yeah,
it's-
there's a lot of
it's-
shit we
it-
know very little.
But it's interesting as hell. This is the stuff I love, peeling back
Cool.
that layer. So thank you for that.
Yeah, absolutely, man.
And
Yeah,
where
and
can we
thank you.
find your music?
Yeah, I mean, Ultimate Fake Book. It's 2 words. And yeah, we're on all the, Spotify, whatever, Tidal, Apple Music. We have, like I said, like five or six records, depending on which ones you call records. But we actually put a new one out in 2020 called The Preserving Machine. So that one's, fairly recent. And, we play like once a year, a couple times a year. I think next summer, we're going to do some shows. We have, the odd Night Ranger fan has seen us here and there. So every now and then the worlds have mixed a bit, because we made it pretty clear. Like we covered When You Close Your Eyes in our sets lots of times. We'd always
we have it on video.
On video, I mean, maybe that
you
might
could post
be
it to the
somewhere.
page. You'll get 10,000 views right away.
Well, I'll have to ask if anybody's got a record of that. I mean, I know Ian's seen us play it, but I don't know if that's the only problem. We were a little bit pre-internet,
Yeah.
So it's harder to find stuff, but we're out there. We have some records. I don't know if Night Ranger fans would dig it or not, but I mean, it's pop sing-along rock, so
yeah. But I notice the older that I get, there's things that I wouldn't have listened to that I listen to now. I mean, I would have never said I like Tainted Love back in 1986 or whatever.
Oh, I did.
Right.
And it's a fucking great song,
And the Preserving Machine album that came out in 2020 is a concept album about canning vegetables. So
yeah,
there you
it's an
go,
odd concept, but he went with it.
Yeah.
Well, it was it was COVID.
I gotta work on my
it was
dad
like
jokes a little bit.
There you go.
Totally.
Mike, I got two questions for you before we take off here. I know you obviously Sister Christian, When You Close Your Eyes is another song you talked about being used or possibly used. Is there any other Night Ranger song? Because they did have three other two other top 10 hits, another song that was a top 20, Goodbye and 4 in the Morning and Sentimental Street. Is there another Night Ranger song out there that you kind of have like, I like this, if I can just find the perfect match? Is there something
one of my all-time bucket list kind of tracks? I gotta say, I don't have one exactly, but due to some of all this happening and stuff, I think I pulled up it was probably their latest record, which you'll have to remind me what that one's called.
ATDPO is the latest one.
Okay, it was something before. What was the one before that?
Don't Let Up.
Don't Let Up. Okay, well, High Road. Okay.
Was before that.
All right, well, maybe it was the latest one, but I popped it in and I immediately was kind of like, wow. They're just having their sound is a sound of having fun and joy, and I don't know, it was inspiring. It was inspiring. So I'll have to just go back and check out some stuff.
You don't recall the song title?
Well, I know that I put in their new record, and the first 2 or 3 songs were all really good, and then there was a fourth song that was a bit more of a ballad. And I'm sorry, I'm being so vague and not giving titles or anything, but yeah, I was, because that's the other thing too. I'm obviously a fan of songwriting, and I mean, I even gave Damn Yankees a chance, and listened to those back in the day, because it was some pretty fucking good songwriting,
Yeah, it was.
Yeah, exactly. Like I'm definitely, that's the type of thing that floats my boat. So yeah, I was kind of shocked that the new record, I was like, this is some pretty solid shit,
Yeah, Can't Afford a Hero.
It had like a highway. I thought it had like a highway on the cover.
Somewhere in California.
Yeah, that's what it was.
That's probably it. Because I was thinking, like you said,
it wasn't super
the
recent.
fourth track you said was a ballad, and I think somewhere in California you would have maybe.
That's definitely the record I was listening to.
It's a good album.
that was the record. So, they had a couple records in the 90s. They had one released like 2007. That record is kind of what really started kicking off this last decade or so of them being rejuvenated.
Right.
And released.
I could hear it in the record. I could hear it.
That record, when it was released, it was like, wow, this is what we wanted. And they've released 3 studio records since that record, and they've all been excellent. I mean, there's really, a lot of times now you get a record from a legacy band, and they put something new out, and usually it's like if I can get one or two good songs, I'm happy.
Right.
And these records all have been phenomenal. And my final question, well, before I say that final question, there is a movie podcast out there. It's not that great, but you need to check it out. Andrew over here, do the flippy thing on your microphone.
What?
He does a movie podcast there called Flick Flops. If you want to learn more about it, there's another podcast out there called Podcast Flops, and they just did an episode on Flick Flops.
We would be on that.
There you go. What was the last movie you reviewed or something?
We just released the episode where we reviewed a movie called The Black Demon.
It's
Yes,
a shark
I can tell by
movie,
the
right?
look on your faces, you did not see it.
That's a shark movie.
Yeah, basically, what we try to
It'd
do
be badass. It'd be badass if that had a Night Ranger song.
Oh my god! So
we got a song in the Black Demon.
We watch movies that are critically considered bad, and then we try to tell you if it's worth watching or not.
Wasn't there a Ben Affleck movie that you guys?
We just did Hypnotic. That got panned by the critics. Good movie. I loved it.
Yeah, that's Robert Rodriguez, right?
Yeah, and it was fun. It was I mean the review I read of it, somebody quoted, "It's like Inception, but dumb." I was like, wow, that's harsh. But we've also done like Winnie the Pooh, Blood and Honey, which is not for everybody. I loved it. I thought it was great. But...
No, that's great. Actually, the place I work at, Zealot, there are a lot of fans of really bad movies. I mean, they know their shit. You know,
there's something about them.
They, like I knew of The Room, right?
Yeah.
These guys are like, oh, that's like kindergarten. They're in like,
they're advanced
college. Yeah.
Advanced. Absolutely.
Yeah. So I'll have to ask these guys if they know about that, and I'll mention it to them.
Winnie the Pooh, man, it's fantastic.
Well, and your podcast,
Yeah.
So yeah,
absolutely.
Sure.
And then my final question would be, 100 years from now, Bill McShane the fifth is rummaging through the history books and sees that, hey, the original Bill McShane 1.0, he was doing movie trailers, and he tries to dig them up, on these old antiquated machines. And what's the trailer you hope he finds? What's your masterpiece?
That's a fucking great question. I mean, shit. That's a really good question.
Trailer from Black Demon.
Yeah, totally. Yeah. That'd be awesome.
It was probably better than the movie.
Yeah, I mean, the ones that and like I was alluding to earlier, you're lucky if you get to feel that you creatively connected with what you did. Like it's a million things that go into what gets out on YouTube, right? And so if I got something out there that it's like, that's actually in my heart and soul, like that's rare and it's amazing and it's fucking awesome, right? So I have 3 trailers that feel that way to me. But it's hard to pick one, it's like the Air trailer. Well, the Air trailer, absolutely, right. For sure. The Toy Story 4 trailer that goes into God Only Knows, And then I did a trailer last year for this thing called Werewolf by Night, which was a Marvel thing. And I got to do it like a old school Grindhouse kind of trailer.
Nice.
Yeah, that was on Disney Plus.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And it's just like, that's my, I love that kind of shit. So that kind of cutting. So, those are my favorite 3, but I probably would say Toy Story 4 or Air, if I had to say right now. But that's the thing, here's to many more, hopefully, in the future. But, it's all about like, there's only so many great songs out there and I don't want someone else to fucking ruin it. Like don't put, don't put Going Blind in the wrong trailer, people. Yeah.
You call me when you get to that part.
The movie about the 93-year-old and the 16-year-old hooking up.
Yeah,
exactly. Yeah. I actually don't want to see that movie now that I think about it. But that being said,
it'll be in the
there's got to be a way. Yeah, there's like a documentary.
Gene said that when they wrote that, it just sounded cool because it was so off.
It's art. It's art. Not all art is. Sometimes art is describing something ugly, right? And Kiss can when they hit that that sweet spot. They're the ultimate version of that. You know?
Yeah.
And I
great.
think a cool thing that you get to participate in is the song "God Only Knows" by the Beach Boys. A lot of people don't know that song. Now
Mhm.
critics always say it's one of the best written songs, and I mean I like it. It's not up there with me, but
Right.
it's a great song. I can appreciate it, but I'm just surprised how many people, maybe my age, where everybody knows Bohemian Rhapsody, all, some of these, classics, but how many people don't know a song that's held in such high regard like God Only Knows? And then, I'm sure there's people who are watching Toy Story 4 who have
Right.
never seen it and are being introduced to it. So you kind of play a part into, introducing these iconic songs to individuals that otherwise would never hear them.
Well, and that's
Well,
what was so great about the Shrek series. Shrek, my God, there were so many great tunes in those cartoons.
Right.
Sorry, I didn't mean to
Yeah,
talk over you.
absolutely. And that's what I love. That's why Boogie Nights is one of my favorite movies of all time for the soundtrack. And when it got to the end montage of that movie and it's saying, God only knows what I'd be without you. I mean, and these are broken people.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And it took a completely different meaning that I'd never thought of. I just thought of it as a sweet love song or something. And so, see Toy Story 4 coming off of Toy Story 3, where everybody says it was the perfect ending. It was so sad. They cried their eyes out. And what would we be without these characters? Also, what would these characters be without us? Because in the movie, they only exist because we give them our gaze. That's what creates them. And I was just like, what if it's fucking God only knows, And they thought it was cool too. And so that's why I do this. That's the sweet spot. Like I said, can't always do that. It'd be great if we got to do that every day. But when you do get to, you got to celebrate it by going on a fucking podcast and talking about it.
Absolutely.
Well, Brent has a song he recorded once called "Romance in a Hand Lotion Bottle." He'll probably be pushing that to you.
No, it was Vaseline.
STP
well,
recorded
listen. I think, remember, the lawyer said you can't use Vaseline because of trademark.
Well, I called, but the song is entitled "Kentucky Jelly."
Well, that can work, but
oh, we need to end this.
It sounds gorgeous. It sounds gorgeous. It sounds gorgeous.
But anyways, let's see how good you are. Find a suitable match for that track. Bill, thanks for joining us.
Well, when this podcast gets super huge and people start asking for it, then that's how that's going to happen. This could be the whole thing. Kentucky,
cut a trailer.
Kentucky Jelly.
This scene will be in a movie.
Yeah, exactly.
Where
animated.
Ben Affleck will be, playing you. I'll be Matt Damon, Kathy Bates for Brent, and
totally.
Once upon a time, Josh asked me to send him some dick pics, and I just sent him 4 pictures of himself.
There you go.
That's what I deal with on a weekly basis, right there.
But Bill, thanks for joining us.
Yeah, thanks. Bill.
You know what? Listen, man, you keep putting Night Ranger songs in these movies, we'll keep having you back.
Got an open invite.
Yeah, we're sorry.
Honestly, thank you for existing, guys. You're awesome. So
thanks for doing what you do.
Yeah, Brent, he does mean you too, buddy. All right, Bill. Thanks, my friend.
Awesome.
The year was 1984. The biggest movie that year, Beverly Hills Cop. Second biggest movie, Eric's and my personal favorite, Ghostbusters. Right? Let's see what else was going on. Ronald Reagan was president of the United States. The band Night Ranger, the